Oh man. Oh man. What's going on, YouTube? Well, it's a nice beautiful day, sunny day out here in Discovery Bay, California. Yeah, I figured I'd talk to you guys a little bit about something that most people don't even think about while bass fishing. Most people don't even realize how freaking important it really is. There are really no videos on YouTube. I mean, there are videos, don't get me wrong, but not a lot on this subject. I promise you that you are gonna get something out of this video, okay? And if not, sorry, but I promise you more than likely you're gonna get something out of this video. After I get done telling you what it is, in about 15 seconds, please just listen, okay? Just take a listen, all right? I still need to work on this. Everyone still needs to work on this, but it's something that will help all the bass community, all right? Let's check it out. All right, so guys, we have multiple tools at our exposure, okay? We're gonna have smaller rods, bigger rods, you know, extra heavy to glass rods. They're all tools for us to use in different situations with different style of lures. Let's go ahead and break down what this video is about. I was watching TV. I was watching some Bassmaster something or MLF, Toyota series or something. And then as well as YouTube videos. And what I realized is there are a lot of good fishermen that still struggle every once in a while, and I'll be screaming at the TV sometimes, not really, but you know, how do you set the hook properly with some of these baits? I mean, I'm gonna save the best for last, the most in-depth for last, but there are baits out there where guys are just setting too fast, setting too hard, and it's costing them a lot of fish. I'm gonna go down a couple of these lures here and let's just talk about it. Let's figure it out, and you know, you tell me what you think and tell me if I'm wrong, but you know, this is what's worked for me, and when it really breaks down, this is all a learning lesson for myself and for you guys. So hopefully this can help some people out, and hopefully maybe you guys can help me out. Now, obviously, I'm going to go down the list here. Obviously, we don't really have to say much about reaction treble hook baits, right? That's a little guy, it's a little square bill. But these reaction treble hook baits, obviously, just you're going to set into them, right? You're going to get bit, set. Doesn't really matter how hard you really set. I mean, obviously you don't want to be swinging for the fences as if, you know, you want to break your rod, but you know, it's not going to hurt anything if you set decent, and most of the time these fish kind of set it on themselves. So and then, you know, move it down here, we got a spinner bait, vibrating jig, you know, including a swim jig too. All these kind of baits here, man, you're going to kind of swing when you get hit. Okay, but that's not really what this video is about. And again, remember, I saved the best one for last. Okay, so kind of working our way down. Obviously it matters about clarity, water clarity, and all that, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But what I noticed myself, because I don't throw this a lot, and obviously you guys can probably hear it, I don't throw this bait too much, and I should throw it more. Buzz bait. It's a reaction bait, okay? 9 times out of 10, you hit it, go, and all of a sudden, bam, you hit. It's just like a spinner bait, okay? You bring it across some wood or something like that, or throw it underneath a dock. It's gonna be a reaction bait. Yeah, they'll follow it in and hit it as well, just like any of these other reaction baits. But the problem is we got one hook, okay? And a lot of times you're gonna throw this because this hook allows you to kind of throw it on top of laydowns and on top of pads and stuff, almost like a frog. Sometimes these baits get missed, okay? So the best thing I could tell you to do with this guy, the best thing that has helped me out is, instead of when you get hit, and now I'm a hypocrite. You'll see in some videos I set automatically, but maybe this could help you guys out. So a lot of the time what I'll be doing is I'll reel. If I'm on a hot buzzbait day and it's going, I'll allow myself to wait. I'll get hit and I'll just keep reeling. Okay? Because the best thing you can do is when you get hit and he misses it, is to keep reeling it, and he should come after it again. Okay? Because he's chasing after that same sound, same momentum, everything. All right? I think the worst thing you do is kill it. And personally, killing it and then picking up a Senko or something and throwing it in could sometimes be, detrimental to the situation. But sometimes it helps. I've caught a lot of fish doing that. I'm not saying it won't work. Okay, but when he misses this thing, just keep reeling, because when you reel, you're gonna feel him, then set, because he's gonna have it. All right, there's not a lot back here going on. He's gonna have it. She's gonna have it. Hopefully it's a she, right? She's gonna have it. So you just bam and just give it a couple, give it like, just a feeling of that rotation on that reel. Just as you're kind of burning this thing, as you're kind of going, just kind of let it go a little bit more, just a little bit, and just, you'll feel that fish. You'll feel, if you feel any more than this, what this bait was doing, if you feel any more than this bait, then set the hook, obviously, okay? Now, buzz baits are kind of funny because they're kind of in that category of set the hook automatically, and I get it, totally get it. It's, it's like a spinner bait on top of the water, right? So we're gonna move forward to the last one where we kind of set the hook kind of quickly, but sometimes we don't here. And the reason why we set the hook fast is because with a jig, obviously it's a smaller profile than like a worm or something like this, where that bass is probably gonna hit it. Okay, it's gonna be a swoop and they just suck it in. The only reason why I kind of bring this one to people's attention is a lot of the time you're throwing a jig, and sometimes you're throwing this thing in real murky water, and I've missed a lot where they'll pick it up, they'll grab the back. And how many times have you guys come back with a missing claw or a missing tail or something? Many times, because this fish is probably a smaller fish, where they grab the back of it and they rip it off. Now, a smaller fish could mean all the world in a tournament. Okay, got a huge bag of 4 fish and you want that extra 1.5-pounder, there you go. So with a jig, just kind of pay attention. Maybe, if you're not fishing the clearest of waters, set the hook, give it a second, pop it, give it a second, almost treat it like a worm. You guys see me fish this a lot, and you notice how I fish it. I think I've caught so many fish on a drop shot, on a worm like this, just a worm. Now I say drop shot, obviously they're not picking up the weight, but the reason why this one could be funny is because even if you're using a smaller, well, let's get into this. If I'm using this 6-inch drop shot here, if you look at some bass footage on YouTube, you will notice that yes, a lot of the time, a bass is going to grab from the head, which is where you want them to grab. But if you look at that YouTube footage, there's many times where you pop that thing up and he goes after it and he grabs the back tail and swims off with it. And sometimes he'll have that back tail like that for like 3 or 4 seconds before sucking the rest of this in. The other thing I want to talk to you about is with a drop shot, more than likely you're going to use a thin gauge hook. Okay. Now, obviously you're throwing it on ferry rod, you're throwing it on a smaller setup, a setup that's not going to have a lot of backbone to it, so you can't really do a lot of damage. But you'll notice in my videos when I set the hook with a drop shot, it really is a one-handed like pop. I'm not swinging for the fences with it, and there's a reason. Okay, you don't have to swing for the fence with this little gauge hook. All right, that's going to bury itself pretty nicely. All right, but obviously we don't want to tear anything, because with a small gauge like this, it has a tendency to slip out of things easier. It's kind of a double-edged sword using a drop shot hook or just some smaller gauge hook. Okay, so let's get to kind of the heart of why this video took place. I mean, obviously all of this is important. You know, drop shot, don't swing for the fence. With a buzz bait, give it, you know, just keep reeling until you feel it. Obviously, it's going to be right away if he's got it. Don't just get alarmed and set the hook. Jig, all kind of depends on the water, I think. If it's dirtier water, sometimes they kind of grab the back claw. And a lot of times you're fishing a jig, it's a big bulky profile, so you're going to fish that in dirtier water than you would in clear water. At least, you know, when it's not really jig season, you know. Okay, so just like a drop shot, if you're using some sort of Texas rig or a Carolina rig or something like that, or even a Senko, you know, just a weightless Senko, when you get popped with a worm, just like a drop shot, give it 2 seconds. Pop. When he pops your line, just give it 2 seconds. You know, all right, he's got it. And then reel down on him and then rock him. Because you're waiting for that secondary hit. A bass, if he doesn't take it in 1, he's more than likely going to take it in 2. Okay, so he's going to grab it, swim off, and then whoop, he's going to suck it in. You're waiting for that hook to get in his mouth, obviously. So grabs it, swimming off with it. You want him to turn and suck the rest of it in. Sometimes you'll actually feel it. Sometimes you'll feel the secondary pop. You know, a lot of times you will not. But if you're fishing like real finicky or real slow or finesse or something, sometimes you'll get popped and then you'll feel like another little jolt. And that's a good indication to set the hook. Here's the big one. This is the last one, okay? This is why I made this video, is because I saw people fishing with this. And they were driving me crazy. Old Slappy. 90% of the time when you're using a frog, you're using it in an area where the fish probably can't see that frog. Unless you come through a small pocket for a second and then roll it out. 50% of the time of those strikes, he's going to miss this frog. He's going to hit it. It's going to bump off. 90% of that 50% that he misses it, you're going to not see your frog. You're not going to know if he's got it or if it's sitting on the surface. Okay? You have to understand, when you get a hit, what you want to do is immediately just reel up the tension of the frog. Okay? Don't set the hook. So many guys on TV and on YouTube that I watch, a very popular guy putting out a YouTube video, he would get smacked on this thing and he would set the hook immediately. That is the worst thing you can do. The absolute worst thing you can do with a frog. You got to keep it in the kill zone. Okay? A lot of people will set the hook, reel in, and throw out like a worm or a Senko or something like that. I do it. I've done it. I think I've done it a couple times on the video. But you'll also notice, you can see that I edited how long I left that frog in there. And then I'll reel it in and throw a worm or a Senko in there, hoping that maybe that fish is just kind of waiting for something to go down and he'll see it. When you're not sure if he's got it in his mouth or he's got it, simply just reel down to feel the weight of the frog. Don't move the frog. Reel down to simply just tighten your line. Because when you're bringing in a frog, you know that you're kind of popping that thing and you're going to have slack on that line. And when he hits you, the first thing a fish is going to do is he's going to hit it. And if he's got it, first thing a fish does is he doesn't sit at the surface. He's going to grab it. He's going to roll it down. When he does that, you got to just reel up on it. And if you feel any more tension than you feel on this frog, if you feel any more tension than what you've been feeling from this little frog here, set the hook. A frog is funny because you're going to be throwing this in areas where you really don't want a fish to have control of your line. Because he's going to grab it, he's going to go down, and he's going to kill it. He's going to want to kill it. And when he goes down to kill it, he might start swimming away from other fish, so that way it's his meal. And he's getting away from any other fish that might be around him, instinctively doing this. And the problem with that, if you're around any sort of lumber or anything like that, he's going to go down there and he could start swimming through all the trees and going around, and now all of a sudden you're setting a hook, or he knit a sweater. So you have to actually act kind of quickly. Boom, you get the hit, reel down. If you don't see the frog. Obviously, if you see the frog jump in the air 3 feet, from the hit he didn't get it. That's one thing. But if you don't see the frog, and you're not sure if he's got it, just simply reel down. Just reel down and feel for tension and then set the hook. But anyways, guys, yeah, when it all boils down to it, I've had guys on my boat. I've watched guys out on the water. You know, it's hard. Some people, they just set the hook way too fast. You know, way too fast. Sometimes way too aggressively. And it's like you're losing those fish because, A, the way too fast thing, he doesn't have it. Feel it. Make sure he's got it. The way too aggressive set. You got to understand, you're putting a piece of steel through flesh. And yes, there's a barb on it, but you know, if you create a hole this big in his mouth and you don't have and he just simply beats you while you're reeling in and he just kind of comes in a little quicker than you, now there's no tension there, and that's when he shakes off. So, you know, just understand what you're fishing with. I'm sure you guys do, but if anything, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what's going on. Really, those comments are awesome. Been getting a lot of them, so let's get into some conversation about this, and yeah, we'll see you on the next one.